Welcome to the Backyard Professor Respond videos. The Angry Astronaut has put together a very interesting collection of UFO photographs from the old days, and he discusses the ramifications of the shape, the style, the size, the various other characteristics of these so-called saucers that were seen before CGI was a thing as such. And he just put this out just a few hours ago. And it's good enough that I want to also share a couple of his ideas and my response to not only some of the stuff he talks about, but some of the comments that always seem to get tied in with this UFO subject. There's just no way around it. We want evidence. We want proof. And when it's thrown at us, we reject it for any and all reasons. What we're asking for is a miracle, and it's not going to happen. But that doesn't mean the evidence is invalid. Now, I've had a few, and I'm so grateful. Thank you for all of your contributions, financially, morally, spiritually, physically, psychologically, for Robert and I's discussion with the Major George Filer's life experiences with UFOs in his Air Force capacity, in his capacity of filling in the 4-star general about what was going on with the UFOs buzzing the Air Force fighter pilots. It's a remarkable life. And there are some people who say, well, that's all just stories. I want proof. Do you now? Well, you've been told how to have your own experiences for how many decades now, and you're still not listening? There comes a point to where if you're not willing to put some effort into it, then you obviously don't want it bad enough. You don't win the Olympic gold medal by showing a gold medalist, well, prove to me that you're tough enough to win the gold medal. This is an interactive situation, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not using very good analogies, but I don't have any right off the top of my top loftical head. Apologies to James Joyce, Finnegan's Wake, for those of you who do read good literature. But this idea of give me good photos is so tricky. One thing is we have suspicions that the craft have some type of a shield around them, some kind of maybe an envelope of ionized gas that potentially eliminates gravity, and so they can fly so fast, but it makes it hard to get a clear photo. Other times we're shown crystal clear photos, and it's immediately said, oh, those are fake too, because that's CGI. And so it's almost as if the skeptics want to make sure this is a no-win situation. For them, it might be. But for experiencers like Major George Filer, like so many hundreds of abductees who have testified and books written, and for those who have had experiences who are neither high and mighty in the military or the government, but who are just regular citizens of their country, Travis Walton and others, Chris Bledsoe now was every bit just a normal Joe in his life. This is an interesting situation. Now, I'm growing fond of the Angry Astronaut. This guy is good. He does bring out the scientific parameters. He knows the physics. He knows the the language, the mathematics, the ability to convey to us the somber seriousness and yet the actual viability of the physical reality of UFOs and or alien beings, etc. So I've been paying attention to him. He's very good with discussions such as life on Mars, or various types of information on other planets in our solar system and or our galaxy. The man is a gold mine of information, and I like to extract information from people like him because I don't know very much. And it's fun to find other people who do know a lot, but I do know enough to either be dangerous or at least to have a semi-informed opinion as I attempt to try to keep it real based on my experience or lack thereof. And in the process of trying to maintain a kind of a level-headed, all right, let's not goof around. What is valid, right? How can we be sure this is actual? Yeah. I'm hoping to go to the Contact in the Desert this year. It's the end of May, beginning of June, down there in California, in Indian Wells, California. Pretty pricey. I'm hoping I can figure a way to get there because so many people are there that I would like to get to know, to learn from their experiences, to learn from their knowledge straight from the horse's mouth, as it were. And who knows, maybe go down there and have a UFO experience of my own. That might be fascinating to do. So I'm mulling that over. In the meantime, let's see, and I'm just going to share a couple of short clips. I'll leave the link in the description to this video, but his idea is intriguing and his approach to this is impeccable. And his evidence, from my opinion, is really good. Photo-wise. Yes, he does utilize some CGI in it as well while he's narrating the discussion, of course, but he does have some genuine old photographs, and quite frankly, they're not all that muddy. They're not all that off-kilter. Quite intriguing. The circumstances of why the photo was taken is also really interesting. There's no reason that someone was just concocting a wild tale, as so many accuse absolutely everyone of doing now, which I just don't buy. On the other hand, I personally am not 100% satisfied with the evidence yet, but I am looking, and I'm looking into it. I'm not going to just automatically knee-jerk say, oh, nope, that's fake because of this. Oh, nope, that's fake because of that. Oh, nope, that's fake because of that. And that's obviously fake because of that. And absolutely nothing is real. Everybody is grifters. I don't buy that approach. I honestly just don't buy that approach. There is something to this. There is too much corroborative evidence. For whatever reason, our generation now, maybe it's the generation under me. I'm not trying to cast blame. I'm just trying to share an observation that everyone is so skeptical that it hinders us in knowing reality and truth. Because we now know that the science we were raised on in the 1920s all the way up to today, Einstein onward, getting us into that ever crazy, quirky quantum realm. We now know the Nobel Prize for Physics was shared by 3 physicists. Donald Hoffman shares this in many of his videos on his discussion on consciousness, where quantum physicists have now proven it's not a guess, it is a proof. They were given the Nobel Prize in Physics for it. that local reality is not real. That means anything physical that you claim is real because I can touch it. It hurts when I bang my head with it. I can drink it out of my very real metal cup. You know, that's reality. Surprise, surprise. No, it's not. So we enter into a new phase of potentially what truth is. And I can't recall the name of the three physicists. I will get that. Donald Hoffman is big on this. I do believe it's with Dumuk, I believe is the gentleman who interviewed him. One of the best. Reality is not what you think. So I think that's the title of it. I'll look it up and I need to do a review. I need to get Donald Hoffman on my show. Very interesting materials. The physical is not the primary reality. And quantum physics has absolutely proven that. Not maybe, not guesswork, not just a theory. It's proven. And I agree. I just misused the word theory here. I should say hypothesis. A theory is a tested, established, fundamental reality. You know, when people say, oh, evolution, it's just a theory. That's all it needs to be valid. A theory does not mean a wild guess. I got bad news for you. That's not what it means. So quantum theory, meaning reality based upon the quantum, has demonstrated we don't know what's real at all. We are in a complete illusion. And I know, here it comes. Oh, shirts. You've gone off the deep end. You're in the woo. You're invalid anymore. I'm going to unsubscribe from your channel. Bye. See ya. I want the truth and I want reality. I don't care how many people subscribe to my channel. If you don't want the truth and reality as I'm discovering it and all that, find someone who will refute what I'm saying or don't watch me. It's that simple. I really don't care, right? And so this brings me back to the Angry Astronaut. Just a couple of ideas of his that I really like, and I will encourage you to watch this video. It's very well done. He does it far better than I can. He makes me think, and I love the man for that. I really do. I love men like this and women who share content that just makes you rethink what you think is real and true and vital and all that. So, okay, here we go. Let me make sure this is, yep, it's in view. I'll just leave myself on the screen for the moment. This won't take very long. Okay, let's take a listen. Here we go.
This photograph, snapped on May 11th, 1950, near McMinnville, Oregon, is the first known photograph of a UFO, at least to our knowledge. But there were, as we know, cases of flying saucers prior to 1950, and these cases have persisted to the present day. And even though the morphology of UFOs seems to have evolved over time, some of that being a bit suspicious, with the more sophisticated science fiction-y looking morphology coming into play recently as opposed to the past, where UFOs bore a greater resemblance to the sorts of things we would see in science fiction movies in the 50s. Well, one thing that has been quite consistent is the morphology of the flying saucer. From the first documented sighting of flying saucers in 1947 to sightings in the 21st century, the morphology of this particular UFO has remained more or less constant, and even a lot of the behaviors described by these vehicles or these objects, again, seem very constant. Moving without noise, moving without any sort of general regard for basic aerodynamic principles. For example, abruptly changing direction up to 90 degrees without warning, or suddenly accelerating out of sight from a near stationary location without any regard for the limitations of G-forces. These sorts of things have been reported with flying saucers over and over again for over 70 years. So why is this morphology such a consistent thing? Why do nearly a third of the reported UFOs adhere to this sort of description, either an orb, a circle, a disc, something along the lines of a flying saucer, as opposed to any of the other types of vehicles that have been spotted in the past, such as Tic Tacs or wedges or giant flying rectangles? Well, in this video, we are going to examine some of the most famous and compelling flying saucer cases in history and examine from a scientific perspective why an extraterrestrial civilization might make use of this type of morphology as an ideal design for a craft designed to move through space and the atmosphere with impunity. All of this and more coming at you on the Angry Astronaut right now.
All right, that's his obvious introduction. Now, the one thing that I just wanted to indicate to you to let you know, hey, here's a new video, a new analysis and study on the subject of the morphology of the saucers. And I thought he did a very credible job. He really does dig into the history. He really does have some splendid old photographs, etc. Now, just because they were taken in the 1950s or 60s or 70s, it is so amazing how people say, show us evidence. He does. Old photographs can't just be dismissed as, oh, well, that's invalid. Says who? Old photographs of horses and buggies aren't dismissed like that. Old photographs of the first invented bicycles that had a much weirder shape than today's bicycles aren't dismissed as not actual evidence. No, those old evidences of photographs are every bit as valid today as they were back then, just like these stories. Now, realize, just like he said, these have been photographed, talked about, described, wondered about, and guessed about for the last 70 years because it's consistently and steadily been seen around the world. Whether you personally have seen a UFO is irrelevant to the actual evidence that it's been around here for 70 years worldwide, and there is actually evidence. And I think this is one of the strengths of the Angry Astronaut's presentation here. So that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. I'm not going to give his video away. I think the man has done a tremendous amount of work. I honestly don't have the time to put in the work like he did, but I do want to call attention to it and to share with you my interpretation and view that I don't discount the old evidence any more than old photographs of World War II machinery is not evidence for the type of war machinery the Germans had. You can't just throw the photographs away and say, nope, if I don't see it in person, it didn't exist. Bullshit. Those photos are absolutely valid evidence. Well, it doesn't look like what I thought it would. That's irrelevant. Well, it looks CGI. That's irrelevant. You know, it's astonishing how liquidy mushy our capability of evaluating actual evidence in history has become today. And we need to have a corrective for that. Truly. So thanks for watching my Backyard Professor videos. I will be back with more as I can. You guys have a great night. I will keep on trucking and keeping my eyes on the sky.